Hello and welcome to the show. Before we begin, apologies because we haven't had an out and about episode for a while, and this is one of those episodes. So I'm out and about, just like I said. So expect to hear people talking in the background, cars driving by, animals, airplanes, whatever. So welcome to the show. It's the Sales for the Nigerian Business Person podcast. It's available on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, or any podcast player of your choice. So subscribe. It's free once you're done listening to this episode, especially those of you who are catching this from YouTube or who seem to be listening to it from a web browser. So if you subscribe, then you get the updates or the downloads delivered directly to your phone or your mobile device, and you don't get to miss the juicy goodness that we discuss over here on the podcast, sometimes on a daily basis, worst case scenario, maybe twice a week. So, today on the show, I'm going to be giving you guys a rider or a prequel to the SMEDAN episodes because I'm done with the messaging discussion. And what I would like for us to tackle in in the first part of the SMEDAN episodes, well, first of all, the SMEDAN is, oh boy, I can't remember what the acronym means. I think it's the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Authority of Nigeria, something like that. You get the whole gist. Their purpose is to make sure that the up and coming guys and girls, the small and medium scale businesses, people that are less than, I think, 10 million naira in revenue. I can't remember if it's 10 or 100, or people that are less than 300 employees, or both. So they're trying to make sure that people have all the training, the resources, and the financing that they need to grow their business forward, to move their business forward. So I have a previous episode on that where I mentioned the training episode that I was going to do. So if you've been listening for a while, then you've already caught up with it. But if you've just found this podcast recently, then you might have to scroll back a bit. I think I had SMEDAN in the title, and you'll get caught up to speed on what the training event was around for SMEDAN. So I've been promising you guys that for those of you who weren't able to attend the event, I was going to make a summary episode and go over some of the side issues that were discussed. I'm not going to bother making a summary of the main issues that we discussed at the event because I was trying to introduce them to the perfect sales process. And basically, my argument was that the perfect sales process has prospecting, qualification, and discovery as the foundation. And I know that I've already done a podcast episode within the last 2 weeks on that. So if this is your first time of listening to the podcast and you don't know what the prospecting, qualification, and discovery means, then just look for podcast episodes that have those three terms in the title or just one of them in the title. You're not going to have to scroll back for too long. If you scroll back over the last week or two, you'll see it there: prospecting, qualification, and discovery. And you'll be caught up to date on what those terms mean. But for a fuller exposition of what they are, how they apply to our businesses, keep listening to the podcast regularly because it's something I always come back to because it's absolutely foundational, and you'll get to see why, not just in this episode, but in future episodes. So, because I have made episodes on the perfect sales process, I'm not going to go into what we discussed with the SMEDAN people. So I'm only going to be paying attention to all the side gist here and there that we got into, side arguments, Q&A, things like that. Questions that I tried to attend to there and I couldn't attend to at all. That's what we're going to tackle over here on the episode so that you guys can get a flair of the kind of stuff that we get up to when we're having either online events or whether I'm in person at your establishment, your association, your business, or whatever it is, and having a chat with your staff or with your associates and trying to get you guys all caught up on the sales game and how to promote yourselves better when you're having business conversations, when you're in the marketing context, those sorts of things. So that's what you should expect in the next day or two. So, today in the prequel, I am going to explain one thing that I didn't quite harp on when I was with the SMEDAN crew. I didn't explain to them why these big three are foundational to sales success. and to business success. It just occurred to me after I was done that I ran through it assuming that it was obvious why prospecting, why qualification, and why discovery should be foundational for the sales process and foundational for any business endeavor. So the theme of the SMEDAN program was on business innovation, and there were a few of us specialists that were invited to handle different aspects during the online sessions. So mine was on sales, and like I said, I spoke about the perfect sales process, and my main thesis for the day was that the perfect sales process has already been invented, and traditional sales theory says that to build your business, to build your sales pipeline, to succeed, to hammer, to blow, to whatever it is that you want to call it, you need to engage in prospecting, you need to engage in qualification, and you need to engage in discovery. Now, the reason why all these are foundational is because if you handle these three poorly, then there is no need in having the pricing conversation. There is no need in having the negotiating conversations. There is no need in having the closing conversations, because if you don't pay attention to these three, then it is going to be a bad deal. If you handle the pricing conversations, but you're talking to a person who has no authority to authorize the purchase, then what's the point? So if you want to go into the pricing conversation, but you didn't do very well in the prospecting and the qualification stage, and instead of talking to the Oga or the Madam who can authorize the purchase, you happen to be talking to the secretary, or you happen to be talking to Madam's nephew, then there is no point. This person can't authorize the deal. So the reason why the deal fell through is not, if it failed, is not because of price, or it's not because Nigerians don't tell the truth, or it's not because people are wicked, or people are greedy, or people are uncaring. It's because you didn't handle the prospecting stage right. You didn't handle the qualification stage right. You were talking to the wrong person, and so there was no way this deal was going to close. So going straight to pricing was a waste of your time. It's the same thing with negotiating. What's the whole point of going through the whole negotiating and then bargaining, and then you get to the end and you've been talking to the husband all the while, and then you realize that actually, even though you spoke to the husband, the person who is going to call the shots or pay for it, or the person who had the final say at the end of the day, was the wife. You wasted your time. And sometimes it happens the other way around. In fact, I met a lawyer who had been in that sort of situation. They had discussed about the house, how they were going to sell the house, they prepared the documentation and then everything. And then all of a sudden, the husband comes back, he'd been abroad for a while, and he was like, nope, we're not going ahead with that. And the lawyer had just wasted her time. And the reason why was because she failed to handle the fundamental conversations, the processes when it comes to prospecting, qualification, and discovery. So yes, the discovery work was done because the family was willing to sell and they were ready to sell right now. Unfortunately, on the qualification stage, are we speaking to the right person? What authority do they have? Things like that. The lawyer messed up there, and then it turned out to be a waste of her 3 weeks that was engaged in the process. It's not because the wife was duplicitous. It's not because people are cheating. It's not because people are using her to get some advanced information on what lawyers will charge or whatever. It's because the lawyer, in this case, failed to handle the foundational work. And these are the reasons why prospecting, qualification, discovery, why all these things are important. If you miss this out, what are you pricing on? What are you negotiating on? What are you trying to close on? This is going to be a bad deal. Even if the deal goes through, you're going to end up with a whole host of problems. There's something called buyer's remorse. There's something called buyer's regret. They cover different scenarios where the person has bought, but then now the person is upset. They feel like you swerved them. They feel like they didn't get a good deal. They feel like you are too smooth. You are too much of a fast talker. You pulled a fast one on them. It could lead to scope creep, which is where you guys agree to one thing, or you think you've agreed to one thing. You collect their money, and then next thing, the person calls you up and says, barrister, but I thought we agreed to this. I thought we agreed to that. And that was not in the initial scope of the agreement, or at least you don't remember it that way. But you say, well, I've collected the money. I want to keep a client. Let me add this. Let me add that. It has something that happens to wedding photographers a lot. Remember, that was where I started off in business, wedding photography. So it was common in wedding photography that, but I thought it included this. Okechukwu usually offers that. Well, of course, you are not Okechukwu, you are Kemi's wedding photographers or whatever. But if you don't handle the qualification and the discovery questions, processes in the sales process, then these are the sorts of things that are going to happen. There will be scope creep, and then of course, if there's scope creep, your margins are reduced. If you don't handle these things well, it leads to poor user experience for both for the customer and of course for you. If it's a poor experience for you, you're not motivated to do the job anyway, and it leads to you giving crappy service, and then it leads to a poor user experience because the customer, the person is just frustrated because it looks like you're not on top of your toes. It looks like you're promising stuff that you didn't promise, or you're forgetting stuff that you promised, or you're not including stuff that you should have promised. Then it also leads to less maximization of CLV. CLV is the customer lifetime value. The idea is this: that when you have a customer, let's say your profit is 100 naira because you sell them biscuits. Okay, yeah. Let's say your profit is 100 naira because you sell a pack of biscuits. The idea behind CLV is this: that in order to get the best out of the situation, your goal shouldn't be just to capture that 100 naira from the customer today and you never see them again. The goal should be to capture 100 naira from the customer today, and for the customer to come back next week and get another 100 naira, and then the week after, and then the week after. And if you can, to get them to buy the biscuits from you, not just today, but every single week of the year for as long as possible. Because when somebody comes and buys a biscuit and walks away and you make a profit of 100 naira, that is all you've gained, 100 naira. But if you're able to get the person to come back, just like I mentioned right now, then your real profit is so his profit is 100 naira a week, 400 naira per month. 400 times 12 is what's 4 times 12? Is that 4,800 or 480? I think that's 4,800. Anyway, forgive me, my math skills are really poor. I guess next time, before I make the recording, I'll just things out on paper so I don't make a fool of myself on air. So, bottom line, you can see that there's a difference between 100 naira that you've captured now and the potential 4,800 naira that you can capture at the end of the year, if my math is right. Now, let's pretend that it's not just 4,800 at the end of the year, but you keep this guy coming and going for 4 years. So that's 4,800 naira multiplied by 4, and at this stage I'm lost. Let's just say it's 160 something thousand, 170 something thousand. So if my math is correct, then it means my teachers did good. But if my math is poor, you guys get the point. There's a difference between 100 naira today and at the end of 4 years capturing 170,000 naira just from one customer. So that is actually what we lose when people stop doing business with us. If somebody goes away, the average person thinks, let him go. After all, it's only 100 naira. Actually, it's not 100 naira. If the guy stuck with you, it could have been 170k over 4 years. So that's the idea. If you don't handle qualification, if you don't handle prospecting, if you don't have handle discovery properly, these are the kind of F-ups that you can make, and the kind of business mistakes that can happen. Of course, if you don't handle these early stages properly, then the opportunities for referrals and repeat business are poor, and that could cause problems. So these are the reasons why I refer to these three as the foundation for any successful selling framework. Oh, sorry about the honking. I have no idea what those idiots are up to. Okay, it looks like the car is broken down. Somebody's trying to work on it, and then the guy jacked off the alarm. Oh well, these are the difficulties of trying to record when you're out and about and to do everything live and in one take. But anyway, I will keep on going. Where was I? I've lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, so these are the kind of problems that we run into when we don't handle the first 3 stages correctly, and this is why they are the foundation for any successful sales framework. So that is what we're going to address in the next couple of days. I'll first handle all this. I'm going to tease out in some detail how all these things, how they relate to having a successful sales process. So we're going to go into some detail. I'm not going to be explaining prospecting, qualification, or discovery, but I'm going to be showing how all these problems, buyer's remorse, buyer's regret, scope creep, limited margins, the user experience, not being able to maximize CLV, repeat business and referrals, all those things. We're going to go into more details about about how these things can be caused and how we can avoid them by paying attention to the foundation. So that's all for today, folks. If you love what you heard so far on the podcast and you like daily access to me to ask me not just these kinds of questions, but any questions related to how you sell in your business, then the WhatsApp Coaching Club is now open, or the Sales Clinic as it's dubbed. The investment required is just 5,000 naira a month. You get to ask me anything. I'll give you answers and assignments to move your business forward. If you're interested, hit me up on social media in the DMs or send me a message saying you're interested to 080-6466-2140. The country code for Nigeria is +234. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, that's where I spend most of my time, or any socials of your choice. I'm not on Snapchat, by the way. My name is Tabishima Ayede. The spelling of my name, the email address, my photo, they're all on the website where you're listening to this episode. If you're using the web browser, or if you're listening to my voice using a podcasting app, then it's on the profile section. You see the correct spelling of my name there. And finally, if you're starting a business and you'd rather save to get capital instead of going for bank loans, then I'm affiliated with a reputable financial institution that has over 504 billion naira in assets under management as of this year, 2023. What this means is that they are not going to go broke anytime soon, and they're a secure organization to work with. They're in the business of protecting and guaranteeing your savings, and then they're safer because the loan shark, if you collect money from the loan shark, is going to want you to put your family as security for the deposit, and they're going to try and embarrass you and stain your good reputation. And the banks don't really help you save. They give you the ATM card, they keep on making all kinds of charges, and so at the end of the day, you think you have 1 million in your bank account, and then you show up and you're like, oh, bank, give me my 1M. And they say, well, actually, you don't have 1M, you have 800 grand. And you're like, 800 grand, how come? And they say, well, that loan that you took on this, we charged you that percent, and then we had this amount taken every single month for SMS charges, and this one for the ATM card, and this one for the checking book, and then this and this and this and this and that, and there's really nothing you can do. But dealing with organizations like this one that I represent, you're not going to have those issues. So if you're interested, message me on 080-6466-2140 to get started on saving towards your dream. Remember, you don't have to be saving towards starting a business. Any kind of savings plan is going to do. Some of us are going to start saving towards our children's education because secondary school is expensive, university expensive. Some folks are going to be saving towards retirement. So whatever it is, just hit me up. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode, where we should be going straight into why these three are foundational: prospecting, qualification, and discovery, the problems that can arise if we don't pay attention to them, and we'll start going into them in a lot of details. And then from there, we'll swing into all the side chat that happened at SMEDAN. And then hopefully the next recording I should be in my regular space for recording, and we shouldn't have all these interruptions like people tripping off car alarms and stuff like that. So enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.